What's going on, beautiful people? Thank you for tuning in and watching. I appreciate your appreciation of my videos, and we're gonna talk about weed versus mushrooms. This is a question a lot of people who, smoke weed, have smoked weed before ask, who have not tried mushrooms, right? And it's a fair question to ask. Like you wanna know okay, I need a reference point here. I have a reference point. The marijuana state of mind, consciousness is my reference point. Does mushrooms feel anything like that? Is it the same? Like, what am I expecting here? And of course, I'm gonna attempt to describe an experience here. So, I will probably only be able to capture 2 to 5% of the truth here because I'm describing an experience, right? It's an experience. You get high on weed, that's an experience, right? You get high on mushrooms, that's an experience. So we're in the realm of experience. We're trying to put it into words. Usually, we only capture like 5% of the actual experience. And I'm gonna try my best here to capture that. So, you just have a reference point. At the end of the day, like, if you wanna know how it feels, weed versus mushrooms, you just gotta fucking try it. Okay, if you're curious enough, you want to try, you just gotta go and do it. You gotta try it. Okay, so for the same mushrooms, LSD, they feel somewhat the same. So for the sake of convenience, I'm using the word mushroom here when I talk, but it applies to LSD as well. It applies to acid. So we'll start off with things that are similar between, and I'm giving you again my subjective experience on these substances. That's another thing. So this is why, like, take this video with a grain of salt. So, similarities between marijuana, getting high on marijuana, and getting high on mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. Number one, the giggles. The first thing that usually happens when you get high on either or, marijuana or psilocybin mushrooms, is you start to get the giggles. And probably more so on psilocybin mushrooms, at least for me. I get a lot more giggly on psilocybin mushrooms. And I have a theory on that. I have a theory on why this stuff makes you laugh and sort of tunes you into the frequency of humor. Because I think plants and fungi, they are tuned into a positive frequency, right? And so by consuming the marijuana, because you have the spirit and the consciousness of the marijuana enters you when you smoke weed, right? And in the same way, when you eat psilocybin mushrooms or do LSD for that matter, you have the consciousness of the fungus inside of you. The spirit of the fungus is inside of you. So I think they're tuned into a positive frequency. So because they're in a positive frequency, in a joyful, happy frequency, when you consume marijuana or you consume fungus, you start to laugh because it's the joy. These plants and fungi are in joy and they're tuned into a positive, higher frequency, the frequency of love. So then you start to giggle, you start to get the giggles, right? And I personally, I personally get them a lot more on psilocybin mushrooms. Like usually my first 30 minutes, sometimes up to an hour of my trip, when the trip comes on me, I'm just laughing. I'm laughing at everything, right? After that comes the learning. But usually I'm just laughing, just laughing. So that's, I would say, they share a similarity with, okay? That's number one. Number two, and the other thing they share similar with is the distorted sense of time, right? You know how when you're smoking weed, things just slow down, right? Like everything is just slowed. Time seems to just fucking go on a turtle space, right? Like an hour passes by and it feels like, oh, holy, it's only been an hour, really? Because it feels like 3 hours. Like it feels like, holy, I've done all of this in an hour. And then you're like, it felt like a normal 3 hours of my sober time. Well, it's the same way with psilocybin mushrooms, right? With psilocybin mushrooms, the time slows down, right? So you can have like a couple of hours pass by and you would think it's like 5-6 hours worth of sober time, and I've definitely experienced that all the times with my friends. We don't look at the time when the trip is about like sort of leaving. We look at the time, we're like, Can you believe it's only been 3 hours? This feels like we've been here for like fucking 10 hours or something. So, distorted sense of time, they share that in common as well. So, you'll experience time differently, which, I mean, again, I think these plants, these medicines, and fungus, they show you the fragility of our concept, our human concept of time. Really, because I mean, just because now you're sharing the consciousness of a plant or a fungus, you're experiencing time differently. It just goes to show you like how fragile that concept of time is and how like limited our understanding of time is. So that's the other thing I would say they share in common. The third thing they share in common, enhanced five senses, right? Your eyes are enhanced, your vision is enhanced, visual acuity is enhanced, your sound, that's why music sounds so much better, right? Your sound is enhanced on both. It sounds really beautiful on marijuana and on psilocybin mushrooms. Music is just, you're having an orgasm when you're listening to music. Your vision, you look at trees and you look at plants and you look at colors. Now this is more so with mushrooms, I would say also, but also like on marijuana, like your five senses are enhanced, right? Now here's the thing, what I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, so we'll mention it earlier. This is all the dose dependent, right? You smoke a toke of marijuana is different than fucking eating 150 milligrams edibles. And if you microdose like 0.3 grams of mushrooms, is different than taking 5 grams of mushrooms in silent darkness, right? It's completely different. Two totally different experiences. Same way, having a toke versus eating a fucking 150 milligram cookie, yeah, like that's gonna be a whole lot of difference, right? So I guess what I'm talking about here is like moderate to high doses. You know, the experiences here, moderate to high doses of marijuana versus moderate to high doses of psilocybin mushrooms. So we talk about enhanced five senses, right? Is your senses are enhanced, your visual acuity is enhanced, your hearing is enhanced, your sense of touch, your taste, everything tastes better, right? There's a song by Tiesto, it's called Everything, and the lyrics is everything you do feels better, and I think they were talking about ecstasy in the music in the song, because it's the whole trance techno scene. But everything is just better. Your five senses are enhanced, right? It's just the touch, it's enhanced. Your sense of smell. I would say more so on psilocybin mushrooms, and I would say on psilocybin mushrooms, life goes from say 480p, your fucking bullshit ass, boring ass sober life, to 4K resolution, right? So it's much more enhanced, I would say. Not much more, but it's more enhanced on psilocybin than it is on weed. So think of weed. You know how when you smoke weed, you ingest marijuana. You know how like everything is more enhanced. Well, psilocybin is probably going to give you twice as much of that, maybe more, of enhancement of your five senses. So I would say still that's something they share in common. And lastly, objectivity. They make you look at things more objectively, more from an alien's point of view, a third eye perspective. And I think when we get paranoid, when we smoke marijuana, or when we have bad trips on psilocybin mushrooms or LSD, that happens because we don't surrender to the spirit and we are not looking at ourselves objectively, and we're resisting. We're sort of living in the ego space primarily, and we're resisting something. So I think these plants, they show you this, plant medicines and fungus, they make you look at your own life, your own existence objectively, right? So if there's something you don't like and you're resisting that, you start to feel anxious and paranoid, and that's where bad trips happen, and that's when you have to fucking anxiety, panic attacks and shit on weed, which I certainly experienced on weed, not on psilocybin mushrooms. Then I think that's just you resisting looking at yourself objectively and seeing the ugliness and the things you need to fix. And so I mean, that's really why people get paranoid when they smoke weed. I used to get paranoid a lot smoking weed. And it's because I was resisting these parts of myself that the marijuana was making me see the objective truth of this is who you are and this is how you're doing, and you gotta fix it and you gotta deal with your fears and face them. So I would say they share that in common, both marijuana and psilocybin mushrooms. Now, Again, I would say more so with psilocybin mushrooms, because we do know that stereotype of the lazy stoner, right? I mean, that lazy stoner is probably not seeing life all that objective. But then again, there are some smart stoners out there, really fucking smart people. One example is Joe Rogan, who says, he's 20% better on marijuana. And he says it makes him look at things even more objectively. And I agree. I think it does make you look at things more objectively. Okay? But of course, there is that stereotype of that lazy stoner. So it doesn't always make you... I guess sometimes you can bypass that with marijuana. But you ain't bypassing that with psilocybin mushrooms. It's gonna fucking make you look at things objectively, motherfucker. It's gonna make you look at things as objectively as it gets. Because you literally feel like there's aliens there. Okay? Which we'll talk about now in the differences. But yeah, I would say, again, just to recap, things they share in common. Things to expect if you're a marijuana smoker and you're looking into trying mushrooms. Things to expect. Giggles and laughter. Laugh your ass off, okay? Laugh your ass off on both. It's a good thing. You're plugging into that frequency of joy and happiness that these plants and fungus allow us to tune into. The number one is the giggles. Number two is distorted sense of time. Things are just happening slower. And number three is your five senses are enhanced. And number four is you look at things more objectively. Now, the differences, right? I mean, I know it seems like there's a lot of similarities, but I really think smoking weed is nothing like eating mushrooms. Overall, I don't think it's nothing like it. So we'll speak about differences now. Weed tends to relax you. I know there's different strands, right? Some strands make you more awake. Some strands make you more sedated, and they're used more to sleep. I know that. But it tends to make you relaxed. It's a tendency for marijuana to relax you, right? Hence that stereotype of the lazy stoner, right? Because some of these lazy stoners are able to bypass the objectivity and all these things, and they're just like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking relax here and just, munch on some burgers and eat my Doritos and, I don't know, watch some TV show. So there's that. It relaxes you. It's a relaxant, right? It relaxes you. Now, mushrooms fucking wire you, man. They wire the shit out of you. They're more sedative. Mushrooms are more sedative than LSD. But they still fucking wire you, bro. Like, you can smoke weed and go to sleep, but you're not fucking eating mushrooms. Like, you can even smoke like moderate to high doses of weed or eat an edible and go to bed, right? But you try and fucking do 5 grams of mushrooms, even 3 grams, and sleep. You're not sleeping, motherfucker. You're not sleeping. No. You can't. You're not sleeping, man. The universe is happening. You're shut out into outer space. You're seeing things and you're talking to aliens. You're not sleeping. You're not sleeping, okay? And if you're someone who took 3 plus grams and you slept, I don't know how you did that, because I don't know. I don't know. You're the exception here. So yeah, weed tends to relax you more, and psilocybin mushrooms wire you, right? It's like it makes you come to a visceral experience of the universe, right? So that's where they're different. Now, with mushrooms, you're gonna see a lot of visuals. You're gonna see fractals, geometric shapes. You're gonna see colors, morphing colors. You're gonna see just beautiful geometry, beautiful shapes, and that doesn't usually happen with weed, right? Not usually, anyway, not usually. But that's gonna happen on mushrooms. You're gonna see these visuals, you're gonna see these things, you're gonna see colors, right? And they're beautiful, they're magnificent. If you wanna look into some of the stuff you see on mushrooms, look into Alex Gray's art. Look up Alex Gray on Instagram. He's able to capture the artistic visuals that people often report on psilocybin mushrooms or LSD. He's able to capture them in the most beautiful way, right? He's very artistic. Alex Gray and Allison Gray, beautiful people. So look into some of that. But you're gonna have that sort of pineal gland, third eye activated, and you're gonna be able to see these things, which doesn't usually happen on weed, right? The weed acts on your dopamine receptors, like it makes you produce more dopamine, so you feel euphoric, you feel good, right? Dopamine is associated with euphoria. It's also the same thing that happens when you're on ecstasy, right? So that the marijuana sort of acts on your dopamine receptor. Psilocybin mushrooms and LSD don't. They actually act on your serotonin receptors. They replace the serotonin. It's a molecule, the psilocin, right? The psilocybin goes into become psilocin, and same thing with LSD. It's a different molecule, but it ends up being the same thing. It acts on your serotonin receptors, right? Not the dopamine ones. And it tricks your body into thinking it's serotonin because it has a very similar molecular structure, but then your body has no idea what it's in store for, right? You really like, essentially the fungus is smart enough to fool your human body, right? The fungus is far wiser than the human, okay? Far wiser. So it's able to fool your human body into thinking, hey, by the way, motherfucker, I'm serotonin. Come here, make love to me, serotonin receptors. And then serotonin receptors are like, oh, fuck yeah. And then they go in, and then the fungus is like, fuck you, I fooled you. Have fun with this experience, all right? Because you need it. And it acts on your serotonin receptors. And what happens, so when they scanned brains of people who are on psilocybin mushrooms and LSD, and then they compared it to brain scans of Buddhist monks who've been meditating for fucking bazillion years, they found the same connections in the brain. Like, they found that it's the same scans. So what happens on psilocybin mushrooms in your brain, there's a lot of things, neurons that are firing, and a lot of connections that are not usually made. A synchronization between your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere, which is the point. If you meditate long enough, you'll have more synchronization of your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere. And that's what psilocybin mushrooms do, LSD does. That is not happening on weed. The weed is acting on your dopamine receptors, right? So on weed, it's hard to remember shit, right? Like, it's hard to form memories on weed. And like, you kind of get up the next morning, if you've done a lot, you don't remember. It's a hazy experience, right? And usually with weed smoking, you stop dreaming, right? You stop dreaming. I have a friend, he's like, when he stopped smoking weed, he started to see all these dreams. Joe Rogan talks about it too. He's like, when I got off weed for a month, I fucking started to have all these dreams. On psilocybin mushrooms, you're gonna dream a lot. Since when I talk about dreams in these videos, I started only tracking my dreams after I started to experiment with psilocybin mushrooms. Before that, I wouldn't remember them all that much. But it does something to your brain, man. It opens up your pineal gland. It connects different parts of your brain together. So there's more synchronization of the right and left hemisphere. And it seems to last past the trip, right? And there's neuroplasticity also. So you can form memories on psilocybin. Like, I remember every single trip of mine. Every single trip, I remember it vividly because it's so ingrained in there. It's like, it's so ingrained, the experience, the moment, right? But I mean, I don't remember like the vast majority of my weed experiences, like they're hazy memories, right? So there's a difference there. Okay? There's more, you can form more memories, you have more neuroplasticity, so you can rewire your brain on psychedelics, on psilocybin and LSD. Versus with weed, I mean, it's, there's a tendency not to remember shit. It seems so hazy, and it seems like, another difference is with psilocybin mushrooms, you're gonna start to have a lot more dreams. With weed, not so much. You're not gonna remember them. You're still having dreams, just you don't remember. If you're smoking weed every day, you tend not to remember your dreams. I know there are exception cases out there, so I'm putting it out there. Somebody's gonna leave me in the comments saying, what do you mean, bro? What do you mean? I smoke weed like fucking 4 times a day, bro, and I remember all my dreams. Okay, you're a hero, you're a champ, but most people don't, okay? Most people don't. But with psilocybin, you can still have a lot more dreams. So it acts differently on your brain. It's quite different. It's quite a different experience, right? I talk about some similarities, but it's quite a different experience, guys. It is nothing. Being high on psilocybin mushrooms is nothing like smoking weed. Nothing. So, 2 more things. On weed, you get the munchies, and you just want to fucking eat everything in your path. So it opens up your appetite. Mushrooms suppress your appetite. LSD suppresses your appetite. Psychedelics suppress your appetite. So usually when I trip, I go in fasted, and I end up fasting the whole day because I'm not hungry. Like, it's just, you're not hungry, right? And if you're into microdosing as well, you'll find that it's much easier when you microdose. I microdose, right? I talk about it all the time. You guys know. I do intermittent fasting very easily every day because it just sort of suppresses your appetite. So there's a big difference there. Big difference, especially if you're looking into microdosing mushrooms and LSD versus microdosing weed, right? There's a difference, right? One's gonna open up your appetite, the other one's gonna suppress it. So there's a difference there. Now, the final difference, and to me, this is the biggest difference, and to me, this is major difference, right? Extraterrestrial contact, alien contact. Okay, I know that weed and marijuana are used for spiritual purposes, and I know people they can smoke it and they'll start to talk to angels and other entities from higher dimensions, higher realms. I know it's possible. However, there's a lot of people out there that are getting completely stoned and they're having, like, by no means are they having any extraterrestrial contact, or a lot of folks out there, they're eating 100, like, those crazy 150 milligram fucking cookies, and they're not having no contact with something out there. It's just some people are, like, some people can, right? But what I'm saying is you can avoid that contact with psilocybin mushrooms. You're talking to fucking aliens, motherfucker. You're talking to aliens. You ain't escaping that shit. You're talking to aliens, okay? You're talking 5 grams of mushrooms. Yeah. Good luck evading the aliens. Good fucking luck not listening to them and not talking to them. Good luck not being schizophrenic for 5 hours on 5 grams of mushrooms. Good luck, because you're talking to something. You're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel its presence, and you're gonna talk to it. And you're going to be speaking out loud to it, and it's going to speak back to you, and it's going to tell you something, and you're going to question it, and it's going to tell you something, and it's going to make you laugh, and it's going to teach you, and it's there. It's an intelligence. It's the mushroom intelligence. It's the psilocybin mushroom intelligence. It's the spirit of the mushroom. It tunes you into higher frequencies. You have contact with your ancestors. I've had contact with my ancestors, and it's in a separate video. Some of you guys have seen it. And I've had contact with angels. I've had contact with so many different things, and I'm not the only one that reports it. I mean, practically everybody who does this stuff enough, you're fucking talking to aliens, bro. You're talking to aliens. So there's no escaping that. With weed, you can, but also you can also use it spiritually, right? With weed, it's up to you. It's really dependent on the user. If the user is like a conscious being, you can use it to tune you into higher dimensions and talk to aliens and have extraterrestrial contact. With mushrooms, you have no choice, man. You had no choice, motherfucker. You got no choice. This is why the fungus fooled your receptors into thinking serotonin. That's how the fungus plays, right? It's a trickster, which is why it makes you laugh your ass off in the beginning. It's a trickster, but it's there to learn, to teach you. It loves you. It's cosmic love. Tunes you into the frequency of cosmic love. So hopefully I captured the differences here. This is a long video. I didn't think it was going to go on this long. Hopefully I think I only captured 5% of the differences. Like 5% of the difference in the experience. You got to try it for yourself and know what I'm talking about, right? Overall, I'm a big fan of both. And I think they can be both used to enhance your consciousness, to connect you, tune you into love, tune you into happiness, tune you into higher vibes, right? And I'm happy a lot of people out there are using both of these things, and they're spreading good stuff, good positive vibes. Like Bob Marley was high all the time, and god damn it, like, he's a fucking legend, and he's, his legacy will go on as long as his music goes on. And we have people who are plugged into the psychedelic state of mind, me being one of them. And I think, for me, I know I'm spreading good positive vibes out there, and I'm using the intelligence of the fungus to do so. I am using it now because every time I make these videos, I am microdosed. 60% of the time, I'm microdosed every time. Okay, so that's it. God bless you all. God bless may the spirit of the marijuana and the spirit of the psilocybin and the ergot bless you all on this beautiful sunny day. See, I'm always hanging around the sun here, that's why. As always, don't forget to subscribe, or you're gonna sleep with the fishes.